China has hit back against new U.S. tariffs on Chinese goods with its own duties on a range of American imports. Beijing says U.S. coal and liquefied natural gas will be subject to tariffs of 15% from February 10th, while crude oil, farm equipment, and some cars will be slapped with 10% import fees. They're in response to President Donald Trump's additional 10% tariffs on Chinese imports. Louise has been following this story for us from our Taipei newsroom. Louise, is this the start of a new trade war?
Well, Leslie, it could be, but I think we could see it more as each side making their opening move ahead of possible negotiations. Now, Trump has just come to power, but let's not forget, during his campaign, when he designated China an economic competitor, he pledged to put tariffs of 60% or more on China. Well, instead, his opening move is 10%. Those tariffs came into force today. Beijing reacted with its own tariffs on a range of U.S. goods, and it also took aim at some American companies. Google, for instance, now faces an antitrust investigation. But let's take a step back from the tariffs for a moment, because there are loads of points of contention between the US and China. Now, the trade imbalance is in China's favor, but apart from that, there's the issue of fentanyl, which Donald Trump, he accuses China of not doing enough to stem the flow of that drug into the US. And for Beijing, the most critical issue in bilateral relations is US arms sales to Taiwan. So there are these points of disagreement, but there are also areas where the US and China could work together. Donald Trump has said that he wants to reach a trade deal with China, and he hopes to get Beijing's help in ending the war in Ukraine. And China's economic slowdown is going on. Beijing doesn't want to see a new round of a trade war going on. So that's why I say the two have made their opening moves. There's still a lot to play for. And Xi Jinping and Donald Trump are expected to have a phone call later this week. So on that phone call, or in the weeks and months ahead, perhaps they can negotiate a way to avoid a new big trade war.
And Trump has threatened tariffs of up to 100% on computer chips imported from Taiwan. How is Taipei reacting to that?
Well, Taiwan's foreign ministry today, without mentioning China, drew a very clear line between its relationship with the US and Taiwan's own relationship. At a press conference, a foreign ministry spokeswoman said that Taiwan and the US are partners with similar values and ideas, and stressed that Taiwan is a reliable partner of the US and not a competitor. But of course, the idea of tariffs on semiconductors is worrying to Taiwan. But let's not forget that Taiwan makes most of the world's most advanced chips. And certainly, analysts here think that chip makers would pass on any additional costs to their American customers, and in turn, those costs would be borne by American consumers. So certainly, analysts here think that any tariffs on Taiwanese chips would backfire and have unintended consequences in the US.